Well, things certainly got interesting last night as a ton of documents leaked out that seemed to show the roadmap for Microsoft over the next 10 years. Well, up until 2030, when this information was really being created and was relevant, or a couple years ago, but basically 10-year roadmap from 2020. And that includes plans for all kinds of stuff, software, hardware, even potential acquisitions. Well, there is a lot to go over, and I'll cover kind of the origin story of all of this stuff tomorrow morning, Newswave, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Might be one of the biggest, probably the biggest leak we've ever seen in gaming history. But today, I wanted to focus in on the mid-generation refreshes that Microsoft apparently has planned, or at least did have planned. We'll see, but it does appear that this is pretty far along in terms of their planning phase, and something tells me that, yeah, we're going to be getting mid-gen refreshes from both Microsoft and Sony next year, but Microsoft's might be a little different than you were expecting. So if you guys enjoy the video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, especially if you're curious or interested in some more of the information that's come out. I'm going to be covering this for a little while now because it is, an overwhelming amount of info. But let's head over here. We'll start with the Xbox Series X mid-gen refresh. Yeah, it might look a little different than you thought. This is a codename Brooklyn, and it's still the same teraflop count. They have it at 12 teraflops and all this. Basically, it's not really going to change much internally, as in it's not going to be an Xbox Series X Pro model. Not like how with the Xbox One X was a jump from that Xbox One VCR and Xbox One Slim in terms of just overall raw power. It's still that Xbox Series X system, but refined with some other things that have been added in. Now, my favorite part about this is the marketing term that they've used here. It's now adorably all digital. I don't really know who looked at that and said, okay, it's all digital. How do we sell this to people? Let's use the word adorably. That's not really something I would necessarily put with all digital. Maybe it's because it's adorably and all just A and A. I don't know. It's who knows what goes on with the marketing. So I'm sure there were a bunch of phrases they had on a whiteboard somewhere, and they just kept going through them. And this is, I guess, what didn't get erased off of that board at the end. Either way. 4K, Gen 9 console gaming, more internal storage, faster Wi-Fi, reduced power, more immersive controller. We are going to talk about that controller because the funniest part about all of this, the thing that is most intriguing to me is that controller. So look out for that video because I think there's a lot to take away from it, believe it or not. But let's go through some of the different things that they point out here. They say a beautiful new design that's innovative. I've seen comparisons across the board for this thing. Some have said it looks like an Amazon Alexa. Some have said it looked like that Mac Pro. Remember when it kind of looked like a trash can, basically? So it just, I guess, depends on what you have around you and what comes to mind there. But it's an odd shape because it doesn't look like something that's going to go on its side. Like this is it. It's going to be standing up in this way. I don't know. I still have my Xbox on its side, depending on the setup, like the entertainment center over here. I have it on its side because it won't fit in there standing up. So I don't know. It seems interesting to lock it in that way. Although we don't really know the scale of this thing because they are eliminating the disk drive. Again, it's adorably all digital. I almost wonder if it's like the height of this. I guess technically you could take the USB-C port at the bottom there, measure it out, and maybe get an indication as to how tall it is. But this is all kind of renderings and stuff, so that could even be off a little bit. In fact, as you see, a USB-C front port with power delivery, and they have more internal storage for games, 2 terabytes, which again makes sense in this case because it is all digital. In their mind, okay, we take the disk drive out and we'll add more storage as kind of that compensation, as it is still the same price at $499. So we've had the conversation many times in Newswave, on podcast, about the idea that this is the final generation when it comes to a disk drive being included with your system by default. And I think that's going to hold up. I mean, we're already seeing Microsoft seemingly pivot with this mid-generation refresh for the Xbox Series X. We hear talks about Sony maybe making the disk drive optional in their mid-gen refresh. I think next gen, 2028 or so, when they launch, it'll just be a digital system, and all digital future, here we come. Good news is I think Nintendo holds out for another generation, and come, we'll say 2032, I think they're out as well. I think it'll just be an all digital system. So there you go. The clock has started. So realize that now, and either start picking up games you want to hold on to, or if you're someone who said you're not going to play games anymore when it goes all digital, I guess figure out your exit strategy. But if we look over at the updated technologies, all new Southbridge to modernize I/O and sustainability efforts. So if you're unaware, the Southbridge in your Xbox Series system right now is from the Xbox One. I've showcased this in all the different teardowns. You can check them out. The most recent one I did was the Xbox Series S, the matte black system with the 1 terabyte storage. That still has the Xbox One Southbridge in it, which technically not a lot changed when it came to I/O for the Xbox One to the Xbox Series. But here, fortunately, they're jumping ahead, and they're also going to be using Wi-Fi 6E radio for better throughput, latency, interference mitigation, Bluetooth 5.2 radio for improved accessory experiences, and it's going to get a die shrink to 6 nanometers for improved efficiency. That would be good for overall, yes, power draw, but also just heat in general. So they may even, this might even be smaller than what we have with our current Xbox Series X systems. They also have improved sustainability because of the die shrink. You would have, as they say, reduced PSU power by 15%, new low power standby mode 20% more efficient, increased use of PCR and housing to 30%, and then 100% recyclable packaging. And then on the flip side, it appears they are going to refresh the Xbox Series S as well with that codename Elwood. And for the most part, it looks like it's going to adopt the same strategy for updated technologies. Again, that Southbridge, new Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 5.2, the more efficient power draw, etc. They're also going to be raising the storage capacity to 1 terabyte. Now, again, I know we just had that Xbox Series S Carbon Black, I think it is, released. That's at 1 terabyte, but this would come in at $299, and it would also be packaged with that newer controller, which the controller, as I mentioned, pretty compelling, but it will be utilizing, I'll say, more current features that we see in the DualSense, as well as in the Switch Joy-Con and Pro controller. So it's interesting that Microsoft will be going this route for their mid-gen refresh, not necessarily pushing the power narrative, maybe just upgrading other aspects of the system while retaining the same overall ability that we see with the Series X now. And that kind of lines up with what Phil Spencer had said in his interviews. I know people are looking at this and saying, oh, well, he lied about the mid-gen refresh. I'm looking at this as kind of a slim model, as in it's not going to play games any better necessarily than what the current Xbox Series X is. It'll just be a newer design, as we see, that might work, might not for people. But having the Wi-Fi 6E, the Bluetooth 5.2, the USB-C even on the front, I don't know, maybe that's enough for people to upgrade. And I don't really mind if these companies want to release mid-gen refreshes. I prefer to have the best experience possible in these games. So if there's a mid-gen refresh that makes the games run better, I'll probably pick it up. I mean, I like the PS4 Pro. I like the Xbox One X. And yeah, if we get a PS5 Pro, yeah, I'll probably pick that up and hopefully get, again, a better experience, frame rate, resolution, all of that. But on the other hand, if I guess these companies want to just stick with what they have and refresh the system with some quality of life stuff and just better technology around the initial chipset that they started with, that's fine too. But I will say the all digital stuff isn't necessarily going to sit well, I'm sure, with many people, although we've been seeing the statistics get out there with these reports to investors and how we do seem to be shifting over to majority digital purchases. So we're getting to the position where, as the newer generation continues to come in and is more and more used to just having everything digital, well, many of us really old heads, I guess, who like having shelves of discs and all of this that we can pop into our system become less and less important and relevant. And yes, I think 2028, these will be all digital systems that come out, and then Nintendo follows suit the following generation. And that'll kind of be the end of an era. Looking forward to telling my grandkids about how, yes, we used to get discs and cartridges that we would put into our systems, and then they can just laugh and play on their phones that are connected to the cloud and all that. But let me know what you guys think about all of this down below, with Microsoft planning 2 Xbox revisions, mid-gen refreshes, but not necessarily as pro systems. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.